Okay, we're gonna read chapter 3 now. But before I start reading, I'm looking at the comments more now, and I see people complaining about, why didn't the humans beat the ponies? They're better at war than them. How the fuck do we know that? Also, if the humans beat the ponies, they would have enslaved them, or just killed them all off, and we wouldn't have the show My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. So, think before you fucking say, first of all. Secondly, we don't know how good ponies are at war. They never did an episode about that, and they never will, so we don't fucking know. We can only use our imaginations, and apparently these people think that humans would kill all ponies. How the fuck do we know that? Because we have hands? So fucking what? They have magic. And we're in Equestria. We don't have the technology to create, like, bombs and sniper rifles. Even though we didn't have sniper rifles back 1,000 years ago. Okay, spears then. So we can hold spears. That means we can win the war. They have horns. With their magic, they could grasp a spear, but then we can hold it. Guaranteed. So, all these people complaining about, hey, the humans gonna be the ponies! Shut the fuck up. I'm surprised Geo has not gotten onto every single one of you assholes. Because that's stupid. Like, read the fucking story and stop critiquing everything. Oh my god. It's like, okay, Geo says don't bitch about one thing, and the commenters bitch about another thing, entirely. Like, great logic there. What the fuck? Oh my god. Okay, I'm sorry for getting mad there. Maybe it'll make my reading better. Probably fucking not. Probably make it worse. I'm sorry I had to do that real quick. Anyway, chapter 3 is entitled Questions, Answers, Myths, and Legends. Longest chapter again. Okay. So here we go. I was sitting orderly in my hospital bed reading some of the local magazines. Play Colt. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry. Oh god. Fuck you. I'm sorry. Okay. Glancing through one of them, I saw a photo of Rarity. It is Play Colt. I saw a photo of Rarity in the fashion section with the caption, "The hottest new designer in Equestria." I glanced over my blood-stained clothes. Okay, so it's not. I'm sorry. I wonder if she'll make me something new, I said to myself. Suddenly the door swung open, and Twilight trotted in. Good, Geo, you're awake. She looked happy, really happy to see me. Oh, hey, Twilight, I replied. Yeah, I'm fine, though I have no idea how I got here. Twilight smiled. I carried you, she beamed, raising an eyebrow. But you're a lot heavier than you look. It took all my concentration, but I did it. I opened my mouth to speak, but a cough distracted me. Aren't you going to introduce us, Twilight? Before me stood the largest pony I'd seen so far. But this one had wings and a horn, which must make it good. Let me guess. Oh, getting the voices mixed up. Let me guess, I said after retrieving my jaw from the floor. You must be Princess Celestia. Dr. Haywig said you were coming. Yes, I am Princess Celestia, she replied. I'm sure you can guess as to why I wished to see you. Indeed, I replied. You're here because I'm a new species, and you wish to gauge my intentions before coming to a decision regarding what to do with me. To the gallows! Celestia sat on the floor and looked at me. Yes, she said with a slight grimace. A new species. Oh, fuck, there's tension right there. I smiled and nodded, though I couldn't help but feel like she was hoarding something from me. I decided not to press the issue as I felt it wasn't my place to ask. So, tell me, Geo, how'd you find yourself in Equestria? Celestia's voice was soft and gentle, rather like a mother's. I opened my mouth to speak and noticed that Twilight was levitating a piece of paper and a quill in front of her, presumably to take notes. Well, where do I start? I sighed and rubbed the back of my head. I was on my way back home from work when I was nearly hit by a car. And here comes all the questions. A what? Twilight asked. A car, I replied. Humans use them to move around. Oh, right. She scribbled something and I continued speaking. I shouted at the driver to be more careful and he turned the car around. He pulled up beside me, got out, and asked me what my problem was. When I told him, he punched me. Twilight let out a small gasp as she continued writing. While I was on the floor, he jumped on top of me, pummeling me with blow after blow. I swung at the air rapidly with my own fist, mimicking the blows I'd received. Celestia nodded. Continue, please. So to save myself, I pretended to be dead. However, I didn't know that the guy was going to go and get a gun from his cot. A what? Twilight interrupted again. A gun's a weapon which uses explosive force to fire a small projectile at a target, like a crossbow, but more lethal, I explained. Humans have been using them to kill each other for hundreds of years. In fact, it's all we ever seem to do. True. I could see tears forming in Twilight's eyes, but she wiped them away and continued scribbling. Excuse me. I got up off the ground and tried to run, but that's when the man shot me. I said, closing my eyes at the memory. The next thing I knew, I had woken up in that forest clearing, bleeding heavily. Celestia shook her head. That must have been awful, she said softly. It was, I replied. I do my best to avoid violence, but I guess I couldn't this time. And what happened after you woke up? Asked Twilight. I found those leaves which I used as a makeshift plasters and set off towards town. I still had no idea that I was in a land which was populated by talking ponies. Celestia raised an eyebrow but said nothing. I thought I had passed out, I said quickly. I thought that Derek, the man who had shot me, had come back to pick me up and dump me somewhere. It's not uncommon for humans to do that when they try to kill someone. Celestia nodded, her eyebrows returning to the usual positions. However, as soon as I saw the building with the cupcake on the roof, well, that's when I knew, for I wasn't in a familiar area. But I kept walking towards it. You were heading towards Ponyville? Twilight checked. Yes, I was, I offered a weak smile, which Twilight returned. Next thing I knew, I had been lifted a couple 100 feet into the air by... Damn it, what's her name again? Rainbow Dash, Twilight replied. And that's when you met us. Yeah, it was, I nodded. That's pretty much it, Your Highness. Celestia nodded. I assume you would like to return home now? If you could send me home, I would be eternally grateful. I bowed down gently and smiled. As much as I've enjoyed my time here, I still have a life back on Earth, such as it is. Celestia stood up. Very well, she said as her horn began to glow. Brace yourself. A bright light filled the room, enveloping me within it, while I felt myself being lifted into the air, then falling back down again. Fuck. It came as a shock to see that I was still in the hospital. Both Celestia and Twilight looked at me with unblinking eyes. I don't understand. That spell should have worked, Celestia flustered, to which I just shrugged. We'll have to stay here until we can figure out a way to get you back. Just like that, you're gonna give up? Fuck you, Celestia, you troll. God, that's mean. But where would I stay? I asked. I can't exactly stay in the hospital all the time. The food fucking sucks. Other ponies need these beds too, you know. Aw. Very true and very nice of him. The next sentence. You can stay with me, squealed Twilight. She quickly covered her mouth with her hooves and blushed. I mean, if you want to. Would that be acceptable, Geo? Asked Celestia, smiling at Twilight's sudden outburst. Fine by me, I replied. Besides, I'm pretty sure Twilight will want to learn more about me, my species, and my home. Twilight nodded, her blush growing darker. So be it, Geo, Celestia said as she turned to leave. You can stay with Twilight at the library. Now I'll make arrangements for clothing for you. Thank you, Your Highness. I bowed my head again. As she reached the door, Celestia turned to face me. One more thing, she says. Yes, Princess, I replied. How do you feel about being stuck here? She asked. And be honest. I've dealt with your kind before. What do you mean by that? I asked, eyeing her suspiciously. I meant no offense. What I meant was, I've dealt with people who have never seen a pony before, Celestia said, still sounding like she was hoarding something. So please, answer the question. I sighed. Honestly, I don't mind being stuck here, I replied. Quite frankly, I don't want to go back. If anything, I see this as an opportunity for a fresh start. My old life was crap, so perhaps I've been brought here to start afresh. Celestia smiled at me. That was indeed honest, she said. Very well. I will not work on a way to sending you back. Instead, I will make the necessary preparations to make you an official citizen of Equestria. Thank you, Your Highness, I said, bowing me head. Not a problem, Geo, Celestia replied before trotting out the door and closing it behind her. We looked at Twilight, who had a big smile on her face. This is going to be great, she said. I get to make a new friend and learn about a new species, all at once. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well, I replied, but I can't shake the feeling that Celestia is hiding something from me. What do you think she meant by "you're kind"? Twilight bit her lip and shrugged. Whatever, I said dismissively. I'm sure I'll find out in time. Twilight nodded and made for the door. I'll let you get some rest now, she said. I'll be back when they let you out. In the meantime, I'll tell every pony in town about you, so they know not to freak out when you make an appearance. Thanks, I replied, allowing her to leave the room. With nothing else to do, I laid my head on the pillows and was soon asleep. Fuck, 3 months later. 3 months later, and the day had finally come. I was being discharged. I could have left the hospital any time, but the doctors insisted on studying my anatomy. So the next time I was admitted to the hospital, they would be able to treat me quicker. As I left the hospital at twilight, I turned and waved to the assorted doctors and nurses. Thanks for everything, I said with a smile, and I promised not to come back, at least not for a few months. They all laughed politely and returned to their duties as I turned back to face Twilight. So, I asked sheepishly, what now? Well, replied Twilight, now I get to study you. Oh, God, already the ship. It all has led to this. But first I need to show you around town. If you're going to be staying with me, you need to get to know where everything is. Yeah, sure, I replied. Entering the town square, I saw that the market was on. Ponies were toing and froing between various stalls. Instead of panic, I was met with open arms, or forehoofs. Twilight had indeed done as she said and informed the town ponies about me while I was in the hospital. I returned their greetings politely. Making new friends was never a strong point for me, but I told myself to persevere. As we walked, Twilight pointed out the various buildings within the town. I made a mental note of where everything was. If I was going to be living here, I wanted to make absolutely sure that I wasn't going to get lost and make a complete tit out of myself. I know that's what they say, and not America, but it's still funny. Fucking. That's the library where I live. Sorry, where we live, Twilight said, pointing at a tree of a hoof. Rather fitting that a smart girl like you would live in a library, I said, giving her a wink. Yeah, you fucking sly dog. She blushed at the gesture and indicated a building which resembled a merry-go-round. That's the Carousel Boutique. Rarity both lives and works there. She's told me that she would like to see you at some point so she can measure you for new clothes. I looked at me current outfit. The bloodstains had been cleaned out, but a scorched hole still remained from where the bullet had passed through. Yeah, I nodded. I think I'll take her up on her offer. There's the town hall, the school. Fluttershy lives up near the forest. Sweet Apple Acres is over there. That's Applejack's farm. And Rainbow Dash lives in Cloudsdale. All right, I said, licking me lips. But what about the building with the cupcake on the roof? I'd like to see more of that. You mean Sugar Cube Corner? Twilight put a hoof to her chin. Okay, we'll go. That's where Pinkie Pie works and lives. I'm pretty sure she'll want to see you about something as well. Oh, God. As if on cue, a pink blur leapt out of a nearby bush and wrapped itself around me legs. I gasped in shock and looked down to see Pinkie Pie. Oh, hoi, Pinkie, I said. Geez, you scared me a bit. Hi, Geo. She sounded happy, as usual. I'm so glad that you're out of the hospital. I was just coming to see Twilight so we could talk about your welcome to Ponyville party. Oh, and I'll invite every pony in town. She bounded up and down on the spot. A party? I coughed and rubbed the back of my head with me hand. I'm not sure. Why not? Pinkie pouted. Well, you see... Look for the right words. I never was any good at making friends back on Earth. I'd always do something to embarrass myself or anger the person I was talking to. It kind of put a dampener on my social life. Pinkie's face turned into a small frown. Well, Twilight wasn't any good at making friends either, she said, pointing at the lavender mare. But then she came here and met us, and now she's our bestest best friend ever. I looked over at Twilight, who grinned sheepishly. So what do you say? Pinkie asked, bouncing on the spot. Will you come to the party? Will you? I hesitated for a moment before Twilight motioned for me to come down closer. I knelt down and she got up on her hind legs, placing her forelegs on my shoulders. She's not going to take no for an answer, she whispered in my ear. I found it out the very first day I got here. Just say yes. You'll have fun, I promise. I'll be there with you in case anything goes wrong. She smiled at me as she got back down on all fours. I looked up at Pinkie, who was still wearing a face-splitting grin. I stood up inside. A party sounds wonderful, I said. Pinky squealed with glee and took off down the street, yelling about decorations and food. Don't worry, Twilight said with a grin. A Pinkie Pie party is not to be missed. It'll be a good way for you to get to know every pony. Oi nodded slightly, still dreading what lay ahead. Can we go to your place now? Oi asked. If you live in a library, you'll have books on equestrian history and the like. Twilight nodded. Good. If this is to be my home, I'd like to know more about it. Twilight smiled and we started walking. As we approached the library, she used her magic to open the door, but before we went inside, she stopped and turned to face me. You haven't met Spike yet, have you? She asked. Nope. I shook my head. I'm guessing he's another one of your many friends. He's my friend and my number one assistant, she replied. Well, if he's as great as you are, I'm sure we'll get along famously, I said as I entered the library. Given that the buildings were also made to accommodate ponies of Celestia's size, getting in was no trouble for me. I stood in the middle of the library looking at the shelves around me, each one groaning with the weight of the many books placed upon them. I saw that Twilight had arranged them all in the categories. The books looked well read, but each one had obviously been treated with the utmost care and attention. Help yourself to any book you want, said Twilight as she went upstairs, while I go and wake up Spike. I nodded and went over to the shelves. Looking over at Twilight's desk, I saw various books lying on it. I picked up one at random and looked at the cover. I flicked through it nonchalantly. The Complete Guide to Ancient Equestrian Myths and Legends, Volume 3. Volume 3? I chuckled. Well, these ponies sure do love their myths and legends. Whoa, what the hell was that? I flicked back a few pages and was shocked to see a crude drawing of what looked like a human. It was hunched over, wearing rags and holding a spear. Its arms were longer than its body, and its knuckles dragged along the ground. It reminded me of a Neanderthal I had seen in the museum once. So basically it's not really humans, but cavemen. Which makes it even stupider that the commenters were saying that humans could win a war. I guess they didn't know that ahead of time, but fucking cavemen. These are the people that have bonking contests all day. Whoever was the best at... Oh my god. Fucking commenters, I bet you feel stupid. I read the accompanying caption avidly. Many ponies believe that humans never existed, as no artifacts or written records remain. However, some archaeologists believe that humans did exist, due in part to strange bones found in the desert. It's thought that humans existed that many thousands of years ago. What exactly happened to the species remains a mystery. I closed the book and put it back down on the table. Humans? Here? I stood in silence for a moment. Maybe that's what Celestia meant when she said she had dealt with my kind before. I'm guessing it didn't go well for her. I'd better ask Twilight about this. A commotion from upstairs told me that Spike was awake. I went over down the bottom of the stairs. As I watched, a small purple creature descended them before stopping halfway down. We stared at each other for a moment before Twilight broke the resulting awkward silence. Geo, this is Spike. Spike, this is Geo, she said. He's the human I told you about. Spike continued to stare at me. I stared back. Eventually he spoke. Sorry, I don't mean to stare, he said with a small laugh. It's just that I've read so much about humans in the books about myths. Never thought I'd actually meet one. Do not fucking bark, Toby. Please do not fucking bark. God damn it. Yeah, yes, I replied, nodding back towards it on the desk. I know the book you're referring to. Oh, you read it? Said Twilight with a nervous cough. Oh, I did, I replied. It got me thinking. Now I know what I meant by when Princess Celestia said she dealt with my kind before. I'm not the first human to come here, am I? Twilight shook her head. Twilight, I said, what do you know about my equestrian counterparts? I would like to know. Twilight slowly turned to face me and looked me in the eyes. Do you know what happened to them? I asked, meeting her gaze with my own. Yes, I do, she said softly. And I'll tell you. She motioned for me to sit down, which I did. She sat down next to me and sighed. But I don't think you're going to like it. I sat in silence as Twilight told me everything Celestia had told her, about how the humans had seen the equestrians as invaders rather than friends, how they had tried to destroy them rather than live in peace. She finished by telling me about how every last human had been annihilated in the last battle, a battle which the princesses themselves had taken part in. And that's the story, Twilight finished with a sigh. Now you know the whole sordid truth. I didn't reply. I was too busy trying to process what I had heard. To think that humans could still act like the ancient savages we once were was a lot to take in. You're not angry, are you? Said Twilight quietly. I slowly turned to face her. The look on my face was a neutral one. You are angry. Oh no. Twilight panicked as I reached towards her. She put up her hooves to defend herself, and her horn glowed with a spell. I got a hold of her and picked her up. Any feeling of dread she had quickly vanished when I realized that I was hugging her. Slowly, the ship creeps up. What is that a fucking word? Creeps up behind us. My God. Why would I be mad? I said quietly. This happened long before I got here, and therefore it has nothing to do with me. We mustn't dwell in the past, and instead must look to the future. So, you're not going to hurt me? Twilight said, tears streaming down her face. I wiped her eyes gently with my hand and looked down into them. I would never do that, I said with a smile. I'm nothing like the humans of old Equestria. You have nothing to fear from me. I put it down and allowed her to regain her composure. Once she had stopped crying, she looked at me and smiled weakly. I noticed that Spoik had been watching the whole time with a serious expression on his face. As I put Twilight down, he softened up. He obviously thought I was going to hurt her as well. That's good to know, she said. You've helped me a lot since I got here, Twilight, I said gently. I consider you a friend, so hurting you is the last thing I would ever want to do. Twilight's smile grew as I spoke. I carried on. Sorry, I'm a little bit congested. I appreciate you telling me of my equestrian counterparts, but it pains me to admit that most of it is true about humans on Earth as well. Twilight's smile faded a bit. We've been killing each other for thousands of years, often over the pettiest of things. Food, land, religion, water, oil, fuel, etc. Twilight smiled at all but vanished. But not all humans on Earth are bad. There are some who strive to help their fellow man. We have people who help those less fortunate than themselves, people who oppose war, people who protect what little environment we have left, and people who simply try to live good, honest lives. People like you. Aww, Twilight said, nodding slightly. This is my favorite moment thus far. I know, nothing funny. That's adorable. I like that. Yes, I replied, returning her nod. I earn a decent wage, and while I may not have friends, that doesn't mean I can't be a civil to my fellow man. I give money to charity, and I volunteer at homeless shelter on weekends. I paused for a moment before realization hit me. At least, or used to. I flinched a little as Twilight suddenly nuzzled my leg. You said yourself you can't dwell on the past, she said. Perhaps you should take your own advice and enjoy your new life? I knelt down and hugged her again. I will, I whispered. Thank you. She broke off the hug and took a deep breath. Come on. If you're going to a Pinkie Pie party, you need new clothes. I'll take you to see Rarity. I nodded and followed her out the library. As we walked, I got a few waves from ponies who were out and about. I waved back and smiled. I began to realize that I needed to get over my fear of making friends if I was to stay here, the thought of which scared me. And that should stop people complaining about the romance being rushed. Again, I don't analyze stories, so I don't think it was rushed at all. But, you know, that's just me. It's not really a romance, it's just little hints and subtle hints. Geo winks and Twilight giggles at him. It's not even really a romance still yet, so. But it's coming, I know that. I can't wait. That was my favorite part of the series thus far. Not anything funny, not anything stupid or random like Geo being flown a couple hundred feet in the air by Rainbow Dash. That used to be it, but now it's Twilight says people like you. Beautiful. So, great chapter. Favorite one thus far. I'm not all just about funny stuff, guys. I like mushy stuff, you know, so that's okay. I'll be back tomorrow to read more because this chapter really has got me interested and I can't wait to read more, really. So tomorrow, I will be back. I will not take a 5-day break. You will see me tomorrow, and probably every day from there on, unless I'm really busy, so Thank you guys for watching and listening. Commenters, stop being assholes and fucking just read a story and quit critiquing. And goodbye.